How's it? Mongoose Max. Hang loose. Oop. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of going to be like newspaper talk story, I guess. Because, ginger tea. You know, this kind of stuff. You know, this is the test. 1,000 tests botched because they didn't put labels on them. And, you know, they had to rechange their leadership. Like, they needed new heads of the corporation. Yeah, maybe they could have, you know, had a better transition type of plan in mind. Because they needed this and other stuff. So, you know, who's doing things? Anyways, impulsive political maneuvering. And this is not the time for that. Now, this is like in the end of August. But today is September 5th. September 5th, I think. Yep, September 5th. In a couple days, it's going to be Labor Day. Now, last time it was like July 4th. And then about 20 days later, on the 24th, freaking spike. So Labor Day at 20, end of the month. Look for a big spike here. If so, it's because of the Labor Day activities. It's just, you know, these politicians are having a hard time trying to tell people, you're half the problem. The virus, it wasn't my fault. But I keep seeing that, you know, it doesn't exist or... So, where does all this... Like, why are you talking about this? It's so negative. Because I've had a reprieve. For weeks, the room upstairs has been being overhauled. And the one person who's a invasive member of the household has severe malignant narcissistic personality disorder. And I've been one of the scapegoats, but I've been on that target list for decades. So there's always, it's not plotting against her, it's like you gotta plan, ship going down kind of thing. And these are hard times. And so I don't need hard times and stuff like this on the inside. It's not targeting a person, really. What I'm trying to do is look at this like this. Don't spill your ginger tea. What I'm looking at is this. There's a huge connection, I think. I'm a pretty rational guy. I'm not trying to say believe in God. I'm not evangelizing. But there's a lot to say that the devil stuff, a lot of that frickin' exists. But I can't just state that. I've seen too many atheist, philosophical, intellectual, it's just like, Jesus. That's what I say because I say it. And I was like, I believe it because I said so. Not doing that. But we humans have a hard time dealing with things that are invisible, even though we know it's real. It's invisible, it's everywhere, and it's powerful. It's more powerful than us. Same type of things with the higher power. Greater than I. And these are aspects that people will argue about with God. Oh, he's everywhere. But he's nowhere because he's invisible. But he's all powerful. And there's other arguments, morality and why does evil exist. So, remember this little kid? In this book, his name's Robbie. Robbie Mannheim. But that's actually a fictitious name too. In the other account, his name was Ronald Doe, as in John Doe. Roland Doe. John Doe, Roland Doe. And here it's Robbie Manham. It's a fictitious name. Because this guy, he wrote this to accumulate the whole story as best he could. This is back when reporting was more reporting, you know? But then there's the Amityville horror case, and it's a curious one. The murders happened in the house. The murderer was put in prison, did the insanity pleas, hearing voices. New people moved in the house and quickly moved out within 20-something days, whatever, because the house was out to get them. Get out, you know, that stuff. So was the house filled with evil spirit? Was it a poltergeist thing? What was the Amityville frickin' thing? Was it because people were murdered in the house? Was it because the Lutz just met with their lawyer and made up the whole dang thing over a few bottles of wine, going, just to make a killer movie deal? Oh, that's a high possibility. So many people have debunked the Amityville, but it's up there with the, God, there's so much stuff about it, it could go either way. So what about the story that prompted, was it William Peter Blattey writing the Exorcist book and then made into a movie? This is the story of that person. 1949. So he lived with the Aunt Harriet. But the Aunt Harriet died. Then he started having some stuff going on. Chairs moving and everything. Then they brought in the priest person. It's like, holy crap. Like, ooh, early on, right? Oops. When their first stuff happening, you know, the parents, the grandmother Wagner went into Robbie's room, tried to lay him on the bed, all heard the sound of moving feet. Feet seemed to be marching into the beat of drums. Up the bed, down the bed, up the bed, down the bed. Philip could stand it no longer. Is this you, Aunt Harriet? Somebody asked, no answer. Philip waited for a moment. If you are Harriet, knock 3 times. They get 3 knocks. She asked again, if you are Harriet, tell me positively by knocking 4 times. They get 4 knocks. So it's written novel style. And then they kind of go, and then they go the Lutheran priest and say, hey, it's not our freaking thing. Go to the Catholics. They go to the Catholic priest, and here comes Father Hughes. Right? Yep. Too far. Father Hughes. Where was I? This is right out of this book. So it kind of reads novel-esque, but that's how he collected it, because it's, you know, it's a human story. So he has all these people and didn't write it like a newspaper article. So Hughes brings him to O'Doyle, the head guy. O'Doyle's kind of administrator. So he's like, okay, look, you'll deal with it. You just go over there and nee. So Hughes goes over and said, here's some holy water, and you know, say some prayers, here's some candles, here's some holy water, and we'll call you back. And he goes over to the head priest to get permission or see what he says, because they're under obedience. So Hughes apparently decided to go back to the house. Well, this is right after this. Call me in the morning. She then placed a bottle, the mom, on the dresser, lit the candles, placed them in Robbie's room. The next morning, Phyllis called Hughes, the priest. The bottle was picked up by something and smashed. And then I lit one of the candle flames and it shot right up to the ceiling. And I had to put it out for fear the house would set on fire. What happens next is not quite clear. He apparently told her to try again. She called back and he heard her crash. The telephone table just broke into 100 pieces. This is fucking what? This is called in the demonic assertion, the aversion to holy objects. So he decides to go back. Hughes, Father Hughes, who was now this guy is like a 29-year-old guy, right? He's like the you know, like a new guy. He's like, yeah, I'm hip, slick, and cool. And And people would be like, yeah, they're gay. I'm trying to figure, they have an account of, God. I can't find it. Whatever. But, like the church ladies are saying, oh, he's young, he's Irish, he's so full of the blarney. He just thinks he knows it all. Church gossip about the guy. And so, he's just a, priest, his superior, the O'Boyle, was bumped up to archbishop, like, he skipped bishop, just got bumped to archbishop because there was space. So he was kind of just more like the administration guy. I don't know, he kind of didn't know what he was doing. That guy didn't know what he was doing. So, so they get him. I'm losing my pages. So he decides to, the parents did all that stuff, the psychiatry, the doctor, and all that stuff. So they went all over the place trying to get whatever. And they wound up with the Lutheran guy who's under the Catholic guys, and here they are with Boyle and Hughes, and he uses here, try some holy water and light some candles, call me in the morning. Here's a good bottle of aspirin too. And with all that, he comes back. They don't usually make house calls, but he decides to go visit in the morning. He goes to the house and he gets a sense of what's happening. This confusion, priest opens immediate, it stems from, it's like the confusion about the sequence of Hughes acts may well stem from the priest's own immediate confusion. So this guy offers drawing some conclusions. For a long while, he was unable to give a coherent account of his dealings with Robbie afterwards. By one version, Hughes heard Robbie speak Latin. That's right. Because it's possible Robbie might have been looking at some books or got Latin in school, but usually not. But here's what he heard Robbie say. O sacrodos Christi tu sic me esse diabolum cur me doragas, which translated means, O priest of Christ, you know that I am the devil, why do you keep bothering me? Bog off. Such fluent Latin would have stunned Hughes and started him thinking about possession, because another characteristic is knowledge of an unknown language that they didn't have any whatever about study. He would have opened the Chiwal Romanum, that's the official friggin' big book. There's two kinds of exorcisms. There's the minor and the major. The minor, like anyone can do it. Say your prayers, do the St. Michael prayer, light some candles, put some sage smoke up your ass or whatever. So you say there's a minor exorcism, which is okay. The major exorcism, when you're dealing with the real freaking chairs flying and candles burning up the ceiling, then you got major exorcism. You got to get the approval of the bishop, according to the Catholic way of doing this, and other churches refer to go get the Catholics because they're the ones that do that kind of thing. The major, that's the Ritual Romanum, the Roman ritual. So every priest has one. It's first published in 1614. Pages another section of rituals, blah, 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 and there's instructions and all that kind of thing. You gotta go say it makes sure it's not some other kind of illness, and signs of possession or the following: ability to speak with some familiarity in a strange tongue and to understand when it's spoken by another. Not to say it, but hear it, understand it. Faculty of divulging future and hidden information or events. I've had that happen to me with the witch. I went talking to a therapist, like on Skype, because of the pressure. My friend died, and she's just the ultra bitch. So I didn't talk to her. I kept it a secret. Then when she got upset, she blurted out in one of her things, she called me a pedophile, a devil. And she says, go talk to your doctor. It's like, no one ever told her that. She had knowledge of hidden event. Fucking, she's demonic. Divulging future and hidden events, display of powers which are beyond the subject's age, and natural conditions, various other indications which have taken together as a whole, pile up the evidence. So, here we go. So some people have debunked, Hughes. Like, they're saying, they just dispute him. I don't know if it's a debunction. But you can look at this as like, look at the source. But this is the guy that collected the best that they could do with collecting sources from 1949. And this was done in freaking fairly recent. It's not that old of a book. This is in 1993. 1993. So that's like about, close 50 years. So when he was ordained, Boyle. Okay, we're talking about a Boyle. But, so the bishop, did he discern, how they're discerning if they should go on with an exorcism? Father Hughes, young, rash, not given to projecting the aura of holiness. They don't got him as like the really pious priest guy. He's just a young guy. He's like, hey man. It's like I didn't pay attention when they had demonology and angelology. Okay. But here's the thing. He goes in for it. He goes in for the big giant confession, to be pure so that devil won't attack. So he's going in for the exorcism stuff. So they have him there. They kind of, winter's night in 49, and everyone is involved. So he goes and they decided to put him into a local Catholic hospital, start off, and they did all the thing. They tied him into the bed, because they're just going by the book, the whole thing. Later on, this altar boy is going, you'd see Father Hughes and go, God, he was all disheveled and his face looked mottled like he had hives. He was just freaking drained from this. So, Robbie turned bulky, summoned Hughes and other parts of the hospitals as well. Okay, so they're just discussing, who was there, how did it get arranged at the hospital and stuff like that. Okay. So the priest comes in, he's like fully decked out. Robbie burst into curses and in a strange language, later said to be Aramaic. If you believe the accounts. But, that's what was reported. A Semitic tongue spoken in biblical times, later well-documented recorded Bobby's case does not mention, a later well-documented record of Robbie's case does not mention any such language competence. So they take indiscrepancies like that, or discrepancies, and it's all fake. Fake news. Hughes, following the rules, would have said mass that day and offered special prayers for success over the black cassock. He's like, had the whole thing black and had the white and the purple thing. Hughes knelt at the side of the bed, the Roman ritual in his hands. They said the liturgy of the saints, all the people in heaven. And then they start off with the Pater Noster, the Our Father in Latin. The instructions began until he became. See, they're like two people are supposed to say the Pater Noster in Latin, but sort of secret until they get to that line. Enenucus tentantianum, which is lead us not into temptation. And right after that is the sed libera nos a malo, which is deliver us from evil. So those are the blurred out. But the first part, Enenucus tentantianum, deliver us from temptation, leaves us from evil. And then one of Robbie's arms got loose, and he was under the straps. He somehow got out a bed spring, or whatever. And then Hughes screamed and struggled to his feet. It's like, what? See what that time warp thing. So, Hang Loose Part 2. See, I was covering this, and I don't know where I left off now, where it cuts me off if I don't. Anyways, I'm just going to kind of guess. So I'll tell you the important part. Father Hughes takes Robbie into the hospital, and they started for real exorcism. And Father Hughes is just like a new guy. And Robbie, strapped down and everything, per orders of instructions, he's able to wiggle loose an arm, pull out a bed spring, and slash Father Hughes from the shoulder down to his wrist. Just gutted his arm. Blood everywhere. Required 100 stitches. Afterwards, Father Hughes like, I'm out of here. He quit. Some people saw him years later in some obscure church, and he still couldn't raise his arm. He just couldn't. He just afterwards. Then they took this Robbie, who's like constantly with the stuff, to well, you know, they took him home, and it's all this blah blah blah, and can't get to sleep. And then they were dressing him one night without the pajama tops, and on his chest somewhere was like in blood, like blood scratches. It said Louis, as in St. Louis, which is where Aunt Harriet was from. Aunt Harriet died. Aunt Harriet did the Ouija boards, and Robbie, devastated afterwards, they assumed he was doing a Ouija board trying to contact Aunt Harriet. So, Aunt Harriet. So they went to St. Louis. And the final thing I was saying is, like, psychiatrists have, you know, it's like 48 witnesses. 48 witnesses. It's hard to sort of discount. They say it could have been dissociative identity disorder, Tourette's syndrome, schizophrenia. Could have come from sexual abuse. They're suspecting Aunt Harriet was naughty. Or group hysteria. All you people are cuckoo. Group hysteria. Oh yeah, y'all believe what you want to believe. Everyone's in the same room. 48 witnesses in different places. And he never had a history of this stuff beforehand. And then after The Exorcist was done, none of this stuff, it's all gone. He was perfectly okay. Grew up, had a wife, kids, family, career, you know, pretty basically turned out all right, successful guy. Probably be 83 now, yeah, 83 somewhere out there. So they couldn't figure that out, so they were, it could be an anti-N-methyl D aspartate receptor encephalitis, which causes acute devastating behavior and discontrol. Could have been that. Could have been this, could have been that, could have been that. Who knows? They have a hard time discounting this even 50 years later. It's like pretty well documented. I'm just saying, there's something demonic that might be attached to NPD. Anyways, more later. English. Aloha.